From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Well, hello and welcome everybody to this week's Wow Report, where we count down the things that make us go wow. I'm Fender Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined by Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer, James St. James, editor of the Wow Report, and a very, very special guest who almost really needs no introduction, the one, the only, incomparable Jodie Harsh.
Hi. I'm very excited to be here.
It is so lovely to see you. Now, I'm in London, you're in London, so this is a very transatlantic edition of the show.
It's quarantined and it's transatlantic and it's all of the things.
We just never need to leave our homes again. I could see this as my future.
You know, I kind of love it, to be honest.
Yes.
And you look gorgeous. For what time? What time is it there?
It is 6:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. So it's
around...
perfect time to be looking glam.
Yeah, it's lunchtime.
You're just getting ready to step out. And this weekend, the clocks go back.
What? Again?
Yeah, so we in England get an extra hour. And then that means we're now 7 hours as opposed to 8 hours from LA.
Wait, didn't we do this, Tom, last week or last month or something? Have we already done this?
Not yet.
Oh, do we do it too?
Later. Not this weekend, later. Later, you have to wait.
I
have no idea what's going on.
When we put the clocks back, all of a sudden it starts getting dark at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It actually doesn't make any, within just like that.
It's so depressing. It is. Why do we do this? Why we used to do it for the farmers, right? But we don't need to do it for the farmers anymore.
No, because nothing's grown on farms anymore.
Exactly.
I love it when it gets dark at 3 o'clock. That's the time for some hot buttered toast and a cup of tea.
You like the rain as well. You were just like, oh no. No.
All right, let's start with the countdown. Jodie, stick around, chime in whenever you like. I was going to say number 7, but actually we should normally start at number 10. Number 10, Tom.
Number 10.
Yes. I don't know if this crossed the pond, but a big story here this week was that Jeffrey Toobin, who is a brilliant legal mind and legal correspondent for CNN. He also, covered, I've known him since the OJ trial on television. He wrote the book that turned into Ryan Murphy's OJ versus the People. I've always relied on him for great insight and incredible legal advice. He was on a Skype call, not unlike the one we're on right now. And he exposed he thought he was not on camera. And he was wearing, I think, pajama bottoms and a hoodie. And
he wasn't wearing pajama bottoms. That's the whole point.
Not the whole point, but he pulled out. He exposed himself, and they're being very tasteful about it. But
you're being very tasteful about it because the fact is that he was masturbating. He wasn't just showing his willy. He was pounding the tube steak. He was going tubular. He was tubing it up. He was YouTubing, as the kids say.
Pornhubbing.
And he's been put on a suspension from CNN and from the New Yorker and some other places. Can I just say, we are working from, first of all, where's our shame-free sexual attitude, sex-positive attitude? We are working from home. He's born in 1960. I had a similar, hold on, James, before you indict me, terrible. On Sunday, I attend some anonymous 12-step meetings. Lord knows I need them. And on Sunday, I was doing my thing with, lots of people. And I had some coffee and a bagel, a Slurpee bagel arrive. And I had assumed that I had turned off my camera and stuff. And I realized, not as dramatic as Jeffrey Toobin, I ate that bagel like it was dripping down my chin. And I thought afterwards I had to make an announcement. I apologize to anyone who had to see me. This is before the Jeffrey Toobin story broke. They had to see me devour that bagel. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I say, first of all, if that ever happens to me, will you guys stop the meeting or call me or something?
No, we're gonna put it on the Wow Report, honey. We are gonna broadcast that from here to Kingdom Come.
Well,
how on earth do you forget that you're on a Zoom meeting with the heads of the New Yorker
I tell you how. There's two ways, but one way is, and I sometimes do this on long Zoom calls that aren't that interesting, unlike today, I'll go and check my emails while it's going on. So you can forget that you're on camera because you're looking at your email screen. And the mistake I've made is picking my nose, just having a good old while, in fact, on a Zoom call. But
I understand if you happen to stand up and you aren't wearing pants. I give you that. But to go from that to actually tugging at it in full view of everybody for a good minute or so is what I hear.
That's not that long. Jodie, question.
Did he come?
I don't know. If it was a minute, I would think he's spry. I don't know. I would just say this, that I think blowing your nose and jerking off are not that different, by the way. Natural body things. We are working from home. He is a married man with children. He lives in a
He is a married man who is cheated on his wife numerous times and been caught. He's had many sex scandals.
Arbiter of morals, James.
I'm just saying, let's not. Turn this into like this poor man who has never had any sex scandals before is, he's a bit of a sleaze. I'm sorry if he's a friend of yours. I'm sorry if you like him, but he's a horrible man, and I think it's good that he's going down.
I don't think he'll be down for long. You can't keep a good Jeffrey Toobin down.
I don't even know who it is, but that whole situation sounds like my worst nightmare, and probably quite easily done as well. I guess if you didn't hit end cool. Can you imagine?
I have nothing but empathy.
I want to know, like, what was on the other side of the screen that I heard
what was so important that he could not wait another 5 minutes that he just had to pull it out and start wanking.
Yeah.
What was that exciting?
What was the website he was perusing?
AnthonyCooper.com.
Yeah.
He has like perfect visual memory, and he was recalling, Raquel Welch in 2000 BC.
Well, clearly we could talk about this all day. We'll post more as we know it on the WoW Report. I think the story still has some ways to go. Let's, in the meantime, move on to number 9. James.
Number 9.
Well, I wanted to talk about a few other little celebrity sex stories that happened this week that might have been overshadowed by the Toobin story. Let me see. Hold on. What were they? Oh, yes. Carole Baskin from Tiger King. I don't know if you know Carole. She's on Dancing with the Stars right now. She is possibly murdered her husband. Yes. She came out as bisexual this week. To which the bisexual community immediately said, "We don't want her." Then Matthew McConaughey came out with a book this week, Green Lights, his memoirs, and he tells about how his father died while having sex with his mother, and he says that he came and he went.
Oh, I wish Matthew McConaughey was bisexual though.
No, I know of.
In the back of a Lincoln Navigator? Did it happen in the back of a Lincoln Navigator?
Well, he said that it was one of the most awkward phone calls he's ever gotten from his mother when she was trying to explain how his father passed away. One of the other stories, one of my favorite stories of the week, is that Tyler Posey from Teen Wolf has been doing the rounds of doing a lot of interviews, and he has said that he has had a lot of oral sex with boys, which he does not consider to be gay, or he doesn't consider it sex. He just gets blowjobs, and he gives blowjobs freely. He says he's been penetrated by dildos on many occasions, and that before the pandemic, he was going to a lot of sex clubs. And what? Yeah.
Well, I have a question. If you're having gay sex, right? Yeah. A man with a man, and you get penetrated. Why do you have to be penetrated with a dildo? Why do you have to get?
I'm going to get to that because I think I have the answer in a few seconds. But yes, he's very cute. And that's him talking. Well, he was cuter a few years ago. He looks a little methed out right now.
Very methed out. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was attacked on Facebook for telling this for this story on the Wow Report, and people were saying, "Why are you sex shaming him? Why, what?" And I was saying, "No, he's the one who's going out and offering this. He's trying to get people to go to his OnlyFans page, and he's trying to drum up some sexual interest in him. And he's telling these stories." And in August, he said that he has had a lot of sex with trans women. And he says that trans women are women and there is no shame in it and there should not be any stigma attached to it. And people, I think that's fantastic. I think it's wonderful if he's out there taking away the stigma because, Laverne Cox has talked about that a lot, that there is a stigma attached with men who just want to be on the DL about it. And he's a rich, famous actor in America, a hot guy who is coming out and saying, of course I have sex with trans women. Like, why would you not? Like, what they're, and so I sort of am thinking, go Tyler on all of this. And I love him for it.
I'm for sexual liberation. I'm for talking about tube steaks. I think we're all so uptight about sex. Just let it be and let people do whatever they want if it doesn't upset you and yours.
It's true. It's true. And if it gets people to your OnlyFans page, more power to you.
Yeah, everyone's joining OnlyFans now, right? I mean,
would you, Jodie? Do you have one?
No, I don't. I wouldn't put sexual content on there, obviously. And also, of course, Lady Gaga released a jock strap this year, and Lily Allen is announcing her vibrator.
Oh,
don't tweet that today. She's announcing it tomorrow.
You could have a vibrator shaped like your head, shaped like your wig, like an iconic Jodie Horsch vibrator that's sort of like whooshy like that. You are penis shaped.
Thank you. As are you, James.
Thank you.
We're all a little penis shaped here. Is it shaped like Lily? Does it look like Lily?
No, you can't fuck yourself with Lily, with a mini.
Does it have one of her songs? Does one of her songs play as you thrust?
Does it smell like Lily's?
It smells exactly like her, and it sings "Smile" at you as you put it in your.
All right, I'm going to change the tone slightly.
Oh.
Number 8.
Jodie, have you seen this amazing series on the BBC, The Rise of the Murdoch Dynasty?
I have, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Isn't it? It's amazing. It is basically the real life version of Succession.
Yeah.
And it is the story of this family. And I'm watching this thinking, well, there's no wonder I haven't seen this in the States because the media in the States is so terrified of Murdoch and so owned by Murdoch and so corrupted. It could only be a story that's told here in the UK. But it is a shocking, shocking story. And so compelling and so well done. You've obviously got the daughter, Liz.
She escaped the clan, didn't she? Yeah.
She did. I mean, she started her own independent production company, which her dad then bought way overpriced. So she's seen as a huge business success.
Yeah.
You've got the bad son. What's his name? James. Who had a record label that Jimmy Harry had a band on called Orgasm. Jimmy Harry, of course, is one of the writers of Supermodel, RuPaul's first hit. So James Murdoch signed a band called Orgasm. That was when he was punk. And then he came in to run the empire, didn't he, in the UK. And the whole thing blew up with the phone tapping scandal. And they had to close the Daily Mirror. And they had to sort of run away and hide. But really what you see in these 3 hours is the progression of how they started in Australia and Murdoch has basically variously taken over the media in the UK and now the media in the US. Murdoch started Fox News. Murdoch found Roger Ailes. You suddenly realize the reason why we're here now, why we're in the Brexit mess, why we have Trump, why we have the far right. It's all Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
It's all Murdoch.
And he was so in bed with all the politicians as well. Like they print what they were being fed by politicians and stuff. It's so manipulated and.
Yes.
Wait, isn't Rupert married to Jerry Hall now?
He is the third wife. Yes, he divorced his first wife, then he married, oh God, I can't remember her name, the Asian lady, and he had 2 daughters with her. And this is an interesting little twist of the story because Murdoch didn't like Trump at first. But the twist is that Ivanka is the trustee of Murdoch's 2 younger daughters. She is the trustee of their inheritance.
Well, isn't he besties with Wendy Dang, is it?
Wendy Dang, that's exactly right. Yes, the second
They
wife.
traveled to Russia together recently.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so it's a very chilling story. Dennis Potter, the fabulous playwright, Pennies from Heaven, he has the last word in this series. He says that, Murdoch, he'd like to kill Rupert Murdoch because he is responsible for the pollution of the press, and that is responsible for the pollution of political life. It just says it all. It's so good. It's such a brilliant series.
Yeah, and they go into the phone tapping, don't they? When they tapped everyone's mobile phones. Like, the parents of children that were abducted and things like that. It's so fucked up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they had to close the Daily Mirror, because they were up to that. They were phone tapping everybody. And the shocking thing is, really, pretty much everybody walked away free and got away with it.
I was saying that's like the only time they got caught, and still there weren't really dire consequences.
No.
I have to say that I have a feeling that the Trump family, our version of the Murdochs, is going to walk away scot-free too. That's my prediction for next month.
Right, as with Tony Blair and as with Margaret Thatcher, so Trump. I mean, he's in bed with Murdoch. Murdoch is really pulling the
Murdoch
string.
is responsible for Trump, yes, and I have a feeling that everybody in this world of ours, that everybody walks away unscathed.
Because Murdoch owns, is it Fox News or CNN? Yeah,
which is really the reason why everyone in America has gone bananas.
He's arguably one of the most influential people on the planet, right?
Oh yeah.
Him and Jeff Bezos.
I think he's done more to shape the sort of geopolitical face of the world than anybody else. I mean, Murdoch was against Brexit even before he got to Britain. And when he sort of managed to take over Thatcher and co-opt her, Britain wouldn't have left the European Union if it wasn't for Rupert Murdoch. Anyway, I don't want to be all doom and gloom because it is a spectacular series and it's well worth watching. And it makes you realize that Succession, as compelling as it is and grotesque as it is, the real story is so much more fucking terrifying.
As it always is.
All right, let's take a break. Just tell you, Frida Got a Gun, our documentary with bounce legend Big Frida about U.S. gun violence epidemic, now streaming on Peacock. Blake, have you got a question for us?
I sure do have a question. We'll answer it after the break. What item is banned only during Halloween from 12 a.m. October 31st to 12 p.m. on November 1st on Hollywood Boulevard?
Oh, I know this.
All right. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy. We're here with Jodie Harsh. We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton Bailey here with Tom Campbell, James St. James, and our extra super duper special guest from England, Jodie Harsh.
I asked a question. Our trivia question today is, what item is banned only during Halloween from 12 a.m. on October 31st to 12 p.m. on November 1st on Hollywood Boulevard?
Let's give Jodie a chance. We might know this.
I don't know. It sounds like The Purge, that movie, The Purge. What's that? Firework?
That's a good question. That's a good answer. Yeah.
I think James St. James is banned on Hollywood Boulevard.
It's true. Tom, do you want to say?
I think I know, but I want Blake to tell us.
It's silly string.
Yes.
I guess it was like a big deal back in the 90s or something. I don't think it really.
People went absolutely bananas, and the entire street was all the cars, all those shop windows, everything was covered in silly string, and it hardens, and it's really hard to get off after it hardens.
Oh,
well, there you go.
Same.
How about Jeffrey Toobin?
All right, let's move on in the countdown to number 7, Tom.
Number 7.
Earlier this month was John Lennon's 80th birthday, rest in perfection. My sister was a huge Beatles fan, and of course I love the Beatles, but because she was the Beatles fan in my house, I always shied away from them a little bit. I came across on PBS this amazing documentary directed by Michael Epstein, a documentary director, and it was called Lennon NYC. And it's the slice of time between 1971 and 1980 when he passed. It starts with the double fantasy recordings. It's a little snippet of it. And then it goes back to tell the story of them in the 70s. And I didn't know much about it. And I thought, geez, everyone looks so good in the interviews. And then I realized it's 10 years old, but it's still worth seeing. And it's available as part of the American Master Series on PBS in the US. But I didn't realize, you probably all know this, but that, Yoko, when he and Yoko got together in the late 60s, the British press tore her apart. It reminded me of sort of the Meghan Markle of it all. Mm-hmm. It led to America just to get away from all of that. And here's John Lennon, who's the most famous man in the world, and he can't take it. And you get lots of recordings and interviews. What a gentle, sweet, comic soul he was. And
how wonderful she is too, for all the hate that she got. She really was a true artist, and she really pushed the boundaries of musicality and what was going on. And they really loved each other, and that was sort of the tragedy of it all.
And it's an incredible love story. I did not know that at one point, because they were doing the Give Peace a Chance, they were very invested in it. They were very idealistic in the best way. McGovern lost. They all were kind of recording, and he was doing some music that wasn't that popular compared to his other stuff. They went to this party in the village. Bob Gruen was there, the photographer, and John was so upset, and I guess drunk or maybe high, that he took someone out of the one room, went into the bedroom, and had sex with that person, with Yoko hearing it and everyone hearing it from the other room. Do you know about that? He cheated.
I had to know that there was a lot of that in the 70s.
Yes. It was fascinating because she was like, okay, we need to spend time apart. It wasn't vindictive. It was this, again, very Yoko loving universe thing. And so she sent him to Los Angeles. She arranged for people to go with him because she knew that he needed to be taken care of. And he went into a dark, dark alcoholic phase in LA, but he sort of met with everyone. And there's great pictures of him and Paul hanging out, and him and Ringo. But he ended up coming back and to Elton John, and he collaborated on something. And there was a big, like in 75 or 6, there was a huge Madison Square Garden concert, and Elton asked John to be there, and John came and he performed. And for the first time in a long time, he was, in his element, adored. There was supposed to be like 10 uninterrupted minutes of standing ovation when he came on stage.
Wow.
And backstage was Yoko Ono, and they reconnected then, and their love story continued. And he had Sean, and he quit everything to raise his son, and be the dad and be there for him. And then Double Fantasy was his return to music, and half of it was his songs, and half the tracks were Yoko.
Those are some amazing songs. Some of that is really amazing on that album. I don't know. Do you guys follow Yoko on Twitter?
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
Amazing. It is all like these sort of obscure haikus that she speaks in. It's really, she's one of the most fascinating people on Twitter. I have spent some time with Sean back in my really hardcore partying days, and I have some stories about him for my autobiography that I will share with you after the camera goes off.
Oh, James, you're such a stick in the mud. On the one hand, you're like excoriating Jeffrey Toobin for letting his wanger out, but you're like, in the 70s, they did this one can have sex. You're like, there's double standard here. I'm not following the law.
It just depends on whether you're cute or not, I guess. If you're cute, you can get away with it. If you're an annoying old man, no.
Jodie, are you a fan of John Lennon?
I mean, he's amazing. Not really my specific musical taste, but of course, I mean, I'm from the UK, so
mine either. But I was charmed by this documentary, and one of the things is, in the recording sessions, because these are long recording sessions, he'll be talking, telling a joke, and then he goes into the refrain that is etched in your mind forever. You know, it was such an easy, breezy time in the studio. It's amazing to know that this is off camera. You know, this is off the record, on the record, and they were seconds apart. And it just, I don't know, it brought life to the material for me. And now I have something to talk to my sister Amy about. So there you go.
Oh, nice.
All right, let's move on. Number 6, James.
Number 6.
Number 6, I'm watching The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix right now. Do you guys know about this?
Heard of it.
Okay, it's by the people who brought you The Haunting of Hill House last year, and it is based on Henry James' Turn of the Screw, which was made into a movie, 1961. Deborah Carr, The Innocents. Tom, have you ever seen it?
I don't think I have.
Oh, you need to. Truman Capote did the screenplay. It's absolutely terrifying. It's really fantastic. I thought this was a movie, and I was about an hour and a half into it, and I was like, they better start wrapping this up. And come to find out, I had 10 more episodes to go. So I am now involved. It's there is a American au pair who comes to the UK, and she takes a job at a sprawling manor house in the country. And there are these spooky little kids there. And the boy is sort of like Damien from The Omen. And the girl makes these like creepy homemade dolls that sort of like move around in the night. And it's absolutely terrifying. And I'm having a really wonderful time with it. And I just think everybody should watch it.
Can I ask you a question? Honest answer, James. You watch so much television, and I respect you for that. But do you start watching series and then don't finish them? Or are you, I know it must vary, but are you going to watch all of this?
I am a completist, yes. And once I start, even if it takes me 3 years, by God, if I do it 10 minutes at a time, I will get through it. So, yeah, I will. And I do have, I mean, my Netflix and my Hulu and my Vudu and my, it's just, full of things that I've started for this show and then have to go back and finish because I am OCD like that.
Jodie, are you a big horror fan?
I am a big horror fan. It sounds like it might be a bit like The Others, which is one of my favorite films.
Kind of.
That kind of vein.
This is beautifully shot like The Others. It's very atmospheric, yes.
I think The Others is also based on Turning of the Screw.
Oh, okay. Yes. Makes sense. That's one of my favorite films of all time. I'm a big fan of getting into TV series about a month or even 2 months after the buzz has died down. I don't know why, it's kind of my thing. With some of your shows, I'll wait for the buzz to dive down, then I'll deep dive and watch everything in a weekend.
So you're going to do all your Halloween shows during Christmas, is what you're saying.
100%, exactly. Yeah.
May I recommend Downton Abbey? You'll love it.
Oh, and I have heard of that. Yeah. I'll wait for that to die down a bit.
I think you're right, because it can be distracting watching something when everybody says it's the thing to watch, because it's like extra noise you don't need.
Exactly, yeah.
But on the other hand, when you're able to have like an instant community of people on Twitter or Facebook who are talking about it and who are doing it with you, that's sort of fun as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. 2 different ways of sort of consuming.
Well, that's The Haunting of Bly Manor, streaming on Netflix. I am too much of a pussy to watch horror. I just cannot watch horror films. I'm just so easily scared. And I really, like I've said before, I love to feel nothing, which is why I've selected number 5.
Number 5.
Hot Dog Fireball. Fireball Visitors from Darker Worlds. So Werner Herzog, right?
Yes.
Legend.
Is Werner still alive or did he die? I can't remember.
He's still alive, and this is his latest documentary. The last one he did was volcanoes, and now he's doing meteorites. And I think as we get older, I guess we're living proof of this, we all just get crazier. And so Werner Herzog has become his own self-parody. And you're listening to this sort of marvelous narration that is completely bonkers. And you're like, this must be some sort of satire or joke, but it's not. It's Werner Herzog doing Werner Herzog. And he just has an ability to make anything really interesting. And I was like, meteorites, who cares? But like, oh my God, these things are 4.5 billion years old, and they've been around since before there were any planets. And they were just, when we were just dust and cosmic And then he draws the link that obviously nothing on Earth comes from here. It all comes from space. And so he talks about transpermia, which sounds kind of like hot and sexual, but the idea that we're all just made out of stars. And he takes us up to I didn't realize this. He takes us to the Grand Mosque in Mecca. You know, there's a black stone in that box.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the sacred Kaaba. And he says that's a meteorite. And you see it because they smuggled in an iPhone, and and then he goes to Chicxulub, which is of course where the giant meteor landed that wiped out the dinosaurs.
In Mexico, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He describes it as a resort so godforsaken you want to cry. I mean, it's just great Werner Herzogian stuff. And he also, one of the best scenes were in the Antarctic. And okay, so what happens is all the time we're being bombarded. It's not just like big meteorites every so often. It's like stuff is just raining down on us all the time. And the great thing about going to the Antarctic is the ice is moving and these black rocks just appear as the ice melts. So, and they go out and they're finding all these meteorites. It's just a very intense, fun, crazy Herzogian watch.
Is it like a 2-hour special or is it a series? What is it?
It's a feature documentary, Apple Plus, coming to Apple Plus, I think on November 17th.
The last Herzog I watched was the cave drawing ones. The Lasau cave. What is the name of the cave where all the caveman drawings are in France? Anyway, it's batshit. It's crazy. It's fun.
Jodie, your necklace, is there any meteorite material on any of your jewelry there?
I think it's mainly meteorite, yes. No, I don't think it's solid gold though. It's
gorgeous. I love it. It's costume meteorite.
It's not about costume, it is Versace. I must say that I've recently gotten into space in quite a big way. I've been going through YouTube and watching loads of space stuff, and I've just this last weekend watched Stephen Hawking's The Universe.
Oh.
Starts with the Big Bang and takes you through how the Earth is formed. So the Earth is actually two planets that crashed into each other.
Oh, what was the other planet?
It's a collision of two planets, like billions of years ago.
Huh.
Yeah.
And was the moon part of it? Was the moon part of the Earth? They got split off.
So when the two planets collided and sort of formed one planet together, all the debris that came off it circled around for 20 million years around this new planet and slowly started gathering until it all formed one ball, and that's the moon. What the fuck?
What?
Like a Roomba in space.
And were you around for that, Tom? Do you remember when that happened?
I remember when I would go out on dates and we'd stare up at the space debris.
One day.
It's like snowballs, isn't it? Just like stuff, and it's so crazy. It's almost like once you start thinking about it, you can't stop, and it's sort of a bit like taking drugs or something because you're like,
I got into such a deep dive and how big and vast the universe is. Like the size of just our galaxy alone, the Milky Way, and how there's like 2 trillion galaxies within the universe or something. It's like each one with billions of planets in.
Because then I was reading today about how the sun in 2 billion years is going to be overtaking the Earth. It's going as it turns into a red planet and keeps expanding, and so we will all die unless we get off the planet. And where are we going to go? What is one of those? What are they called? It's like Goldilocks.
Goldilocks planet.
Goldilocks planet. Yes. For us.
When it's just right.
Would you go? Would you go to another planet? Would you leave Earth?
Yeah, I mean, if I could find a gorge property.
You have your own planet.
Yeah, if I have a Starbucks, I don't know.
Benton, would you be on the shuttle to go to Mars?
I would.
Yeah.
I'd be like, see you, bitches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, easy to say, but probably the night before departure, I'd be like, maybe not. I think I'll stay.
Staying here with my cats. There I said it.
You're filling out your Esther. You're like,
Would you go, James?
Maybe. It depends on what kind of scandal I'm caught up in here. If I need to quickly escape.
It's going to be you and Jeffrey Toobin on that Martian rocket.
Drinking our urine. Yes.
Oh, stop it. Wow.
Wait, Blake. I have a quick question.
Well, what is it?
Jodie Harsh and I share something very special. What is it?
a dealer. No.
I think I know this one.
You're listening to the Wow Report. We'll have the answer for you right after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and James St. James and the legendary, the one and only Jodie Harsh. James, you asked us the question this time. Breaking format.
Jodie and I share something very special. What is it?
Jodie already said a dealer, which I think is the obvious answer, but I'm assuming she wouldn't let that spell. I'm going to say you guys share a third nipple.
I already know it, Fenton. Do you know?
I think, can I just take a guess? It must be a birthday.
No.
Close, but they share a name, right?
Our legal names are identical.
James Clark. We are both James Clarks.
Yes.
I'm James M. Clark, and you are James A. Clark, I believe.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
James Allen.
Alan, yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Clark spelled exactly the same way.
Sorry, say it again.
Clark is spelled the exact same way.
Yeah.
I got an E on the end.
Wait, you have an E? You do have an E?
I have an E, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm an American without the E.
Ah, but aren't you from Scottish descent? Did you say that before?
I am, yes. And actually, if you go back a few generations, the Clarks did have E's, but at some point in the 1930s or something, they lost it.
Oh.
The Campbells.
James,
a lot of my I come from Edinburgh.
Oh, nice. I've never been to Edinburgh.
It's beautiful. It has a castle in the middle of the damn city.
Yeah, amazing.
I have to tell you a quick silly story. My Aunt Margie, who's passed away, God bless her soul, she was so proud to be a Campbell. She traveled late in her life. She went to Scotland for the first time. She was in some village. She goes, I'm a Campbell. And some guy said, I wouldn't brag about that if I were you. I guess we were murderers.
Yeah.
I think, but there's a lot of Campbells, right? It's not the rarest name, you know. It's like
no.
Fenton. That was really hard.
Unlike those Baileys who are just so obscure.
Yeah.
That's right. Bailey's a very common name. James, have you been to Edinburgh?
What?
Have you been to Edinburgh?
I went with you, bitch.
Oh, that's right.
Made a real impression, James.
I know, right? Remember, we went to the underground city. We went to the cemetery with all the people from the 1200s. Little ginger boys peeing on the side of buildings. We loved it.
All right, number 4. What's number 4?
Number 4.
This is my weakness, and this is why liberals will ultimately be eaten and buried, which is, don't you always kind of hold out that maybe there's one good Trump? And I was kind of holding out that maybe it was Tiffany Trump, but we've heard nothing from her. Well, we finally heard from her. Have you guys seen her LGBTIIA?
No, yeah, she forgets the T over and over and over again on purpose.
Yeah.
No, she's just dumb. Joey, did you make its way over there? Did you see Tiffany's appearance?
On social media. Yeah.
There's so many mean things said about her. It's so delightful, but it's like someone said it was like Miley Cyrus doing an Ivanka Trump impersonation. I mean, she's deeply dumb. Also, people call her Sniffany, so I think that she may be a little chemically altered. But But you know, and it was, I don't know. I hope it was a gathering of like 12 Republican LGBTQ people. I have nothing to say other than bad things, which I feel bad about doing. But boy, is she a bunch of plasma and cells.
Is she gay? Is she gay?
No. But some of her best friends are. My dad, before he was a politician, this is someone doing bad Trump
allyship, like fake allyship.
Like her father used to hang out with the guy from the 50s.
Roy Cohn?
Roy Cohn, the most self-loathing, homophobic man alive. That's your dad's legacy, lady. Yeah. Anyway, I should bring more joy to the report than this, but I just... sorry.
Likeable trumps, I will say, as horrible as she is, I still have a soft spot for Ivana. I don't know if you've seen her slumping around Saint-Tropez recently, and she still has the same damn hair that she had in the 80s, and her makeup is still the same, and she's still wearing the same outfits, and God bless her, she's like drunk eating spaghetti by herself in an outdoor cafe. I will always love Ivana.
But if you haven't seen Tiffany, Google it, watch it, get your life. Moving on.
She was saying that her father's done loads for the community, hasn't she?
No.
Didn't she say that? Exactly. I'd like to see the receipts for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
After all of his relentless homophobia and transphobia of the last 4 years. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. She's like the annoying drunk girl in a gay club.
I don't see a GLAAD award in Tiffany's future, do you? All right, let's move on. Number 3, James.
Number 3.
Last week, if you recall, I watched a bunch of classic horror films to see if they held up, to see if they were still scary. And this week, I watched a bunch of kiddie classic Halloween films that I had never really seen, or I haven't seen in 20 years or whatever. I started with Beetlejuice, which is still one of the most brilliant movies ever made, and it holds up so well. It is so good. I had the best time watching it. I watched Labyrinth for the first time. I had never seen. And I was stunned that David Bowie is the Goblin King. His bulge is a whole character unto itself. Yeah. It is a plot point. It is the MacGuffin. You cannot take your eyes off that damn bulge.
And from the neck up, it's just full drag. It's just it's just drag.
Yes, it is, and it's so good. It really is. It's with Jim Henson's Muppets, and it's David Bowie doing 80s. He was sort of being a little cheesy in the 80s. This is right after the Pepsi, Mick Jagger thing that he did, and he was sort of. But looking back on it, it's so 80s and so fabulous. I really enjoyed it. I watched Hocus Pocus, which I just watched for the first time last year, and I am now the biggest fan in the world. Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, everybody in it is so funny.
I think the gays are very divided about that movie. Some people love it, some people hate it. I've never seen it.
Really? Oh, you need to. You really need to. It is really fun. Tonight I'm watching Matilda, which I've never seen before, and that's with Danny DeVito, and she's the little witch girl, I think. And then Nightmare Before Christmas, which is just brilliant. Have you ever seen it, Fenton? Have you made Nolan watch Nightmare Before Christmas?
No, but I have seen it. Yeah.
You really should, because it is absolutely spectacular. So I've been having a lot of fun with
what kind of crap is this list without Ernest Scared Stupid on it? I'm telling you, that really is a Halloween project.
Okay, I will do that. Ernest Scared Stupid tonight. Okay.
And a horror movie while you're at it, might as well.
All right, moving on.
Number 2.
I read number 2, a fabulous story in the New York Times about David, Michelangelo's David. It has the most incredible backstory. Do you know that the hunk of marble that David is carved out of, which, by the way, is the height of a fully grown giraffe, was one of the largest pieces of marble ever quarried. And it was done 12 years before Michelangelo was even born. And this other sculptor roughed out the statue of David It took them 2 years to bring it to Florence, and it sat there because it was hideous, out in the open, a block, for 30 years. And they were going to give it to Leonardo da Vinci, but there was hot young Michelangelo, 26 years old, and they got him to do it, and no one thought it could be done because this previous sculptor made a complete fuck up of this piece of stone, which had then been sitting out, curing and getting all brittle for 30 years. It's just an amazing, I was like hooked. And then this is,
I didn't know that Michelangelo and Leonardo were in the same time period. That's sort of interesting. They were like contemporaries, they were friends.
They were 25 years between them.
Huh.
But you know, if you were 50 in the Renaissance, you were old. You know, you were
young. If you're 50 now, you're old. If you go to
Thank you, James. Okay, so and then here's the problem though. Apparently, the marble, there's also a very flawed piece of marble, and it got had all this trauma. The ankles of the David are really weak. And if that statue gets tilted, remember, Florence is a seismically active zone. If it gets tilted like 15 degrees, the ankles will snap because it's called the eccentricity of the loads. And the eccentricity of the loads.
There's a joke to be made in there, please, someone.
It's not a Toobin thing. The eccentricity of the loads comes from the fact that this other sculptor tried to sculpt it, had fucked it up. That piece of marble was too narrow, and so he had to do it this way. And so this weak spot is the ankle. And apparently there's all these little hairline fractures in the ankle. So I was just
you need to tell me that in the last 1,000 years or 500 years or whatever, that there hasn't been an earthquake to topple it in Florence? You said there was a lot of earthquakes.
There have been earthquakes. I think there were like 200 small shocks around Florence in a few years ago, and they're supposed to be putting it on a seismic base, but they haven't got round to it yet.
Geez, hurry up.
I know, right? It's a great article. We'll post the link on the Werq Report. I think the Divine David.
Oh, we know her.
We know her. I mean, Michelangelo's David is one of those things you just see so often you forget about it. And that I was just so fascinated to read this article by Sam Anderson. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing that made us go, wow, it is worth waiting for. So glad you stuck around. This is Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
I was just going to say we just had a special guest star wander in.
We did.
Lisa, my life partner and housekeeper. We've been together for 30 years.
Oh.
She comes on Wednesdays. We usually wear masks. We're far away, except she just went behind me. So I don't know. I will do my last segment in a mask.
Well, that was it. That was the number one thing that makes us go, wow, Tom Campbell's housekeeper.
Number one.
Jodie Marsh.
Yes. Jodie, it's you.
Tell us everything. What have you been up to? I haven't seen you since we passed in the hallways here in Los Angeles, back when people could gather and you could kiss people and hug people.
I miss those days.
I know. Where have you been? How have you been coping? You look lovely, gorgeous, beautiful.
Thank you. That's all down to lighting, but thank you very much. I've been quarantining here in London for the year.
Wait, do you just spin around your house looking this lovely every day?
Yes.
Yeah, this way.
Yeah, I'm going to the gym after this.
Gorgeous, nice.
Really am. I've just started a podcast, which is my new creative outlet, which I'm very much enjoying. It's called Life Party, and basically I'm speaking to various cultural figures about the story of their lives told via the dance floors that inform their work and influence them as a person. So
okay, really fun. That's really fantastic. Who have you gotten so far, and what have you been surprised by?
Episode 1 had Roisin Murphy, my favorite singer in the world. Absolutely loved all her stories from growing up in Ireland, and then the Manchester scene, the Hacienda, and then going to after hours gay clubs like Trade in London, and how they kind of really informed her work and things like that. And also a great story about Roisin Murphy, which she tells in the podcast. She was at the opening of a club called Homo Electric in Manchester. She's dancing on the bar. She's wearing some little hot pants. She's got all these guys around her dancing, like tops off. And she's hanging out with her best friend, who is a video director, who a couple of weeks after has to shoot the video for Kylie Minogue Spinning Around. So this moment with Roisin dancing on the bar of a gay club with all these sort of like half naked guys then became the muse for Kylie Minogue Spinning Around.
Wow.
So it's always like that I'm getting. Did Fatboy Slim for episode 2.
Fun.
People coming. Got Nile Rodgers was great. Just as him.
I love Niall. He is a good interview, isn't he?
Oh my God, he's amazing. His stories, his Studio 54 stories.
I was gonna say he has been around since the dawn of creation. He started disco, you know.
Absolutely.
I don't suppose he told the story about recording with the Pop-Tarts.
He didn't, but I want to know this story.
He
What
came
song?
in, we were upstate, we were Dan Hartman, Instant Replay, you know.
Yeah.
He was producing our record, and Dan said, "Oh, let me call up Niall. I'll come around and get him to lay down a bass track and a guitar track." And he came around and laid down this amazing track on this song, "Smile," that we did.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was lovely.
It stayed on there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Amazing.
Jodie, you need to have Fenton come on to talk about the old Pop-Tart days.
Yes.
100%. We should one day do like a me versus you guys, where we sort of like combine the two. Radio and with mine. And Fenton, you have to dig out your album for me.
Yeah, I know. It's like so long ago. It's all on analog tapes. So
Have it right now on your phone. You listen to it on the plane ride over. I know you.
every night it puts me to sleep.
All of us to sleep. Oh, there it is.
I'll send you my mailing address. I want that.
Jodie, tell us about your music.
Yeah, I've been dropping some tunes this year as well. Another thing about obviously being quarantined is I've had a lot of space to just be really creative and focus on music and stuff. So I just dropped a few singles, dropped an EP called Beats and Pieces a few weeks ago. I've got 4 tracks on it. And there's a great track coming out on a label in about 6 weeks' time as well called My House, which I think you'll like. It's got a great sample in it, which I think you'll recognize. You'll like it. It's cool.
Sounds a little madness to me.
Oh, Madness. No, it's not. There's no Madness sample.
Okay.
Do they have a track called... Oh, yeah, they do.
My House. Oh,
Yeah.
it's Our House, right?
Our House.
The street.
Yeah.
Our House.
Yeah.
Madness is just in your head.
Yeah.
Jodie, I can't thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for gracing us with your presence. This has been a real treat. We saved the best till last.
Oh,
You are the number one thing that made us go wow this week, next week, every week. You are awesome.
Thank you. Oh, straight back at you. Thanks for having me. Love you guys.
And thank you, Tom, and thank you, James, and thank you, Blake. Previous episodes on our WooTube. What is WooTube?
I like it.
It's like a Toobin.
Previous episodes on our YouTube channel, Wow Presents, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll see you the same time, same place next week. Until then, go out with a mask, vote, and do something that makes the world go
Wow.